The Focus on Shelton currently now, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. I'm happy to have in studio Shelton Police Chief Darrin Moody and Lieutenant Mike Fiola. Going to talk about a couple of different issues. First things first. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How y'all doing here?
Good. The sun was out for a few minutes this morning, so life is good.
Yeah, life is good. It's not too bad. April coming up just Saturday, and it sounds like you guys are going to do a little bit of a more focused campaign on animal control, something that has a little bit gone away over the last couple of years, but now I'm starting to see the truck drive around town.
It's been nice. You know, people think of police department as strictly, the law.
Yeah.
What we're also focused on is the quality of life for folks in the area. And you and I have talked about this before. The dogs running loose in town and are causing issues. And we finally got enough funding to be able to put together animal control. We're going to combine it with some other duties. But he's been, in the last month, we've had a few dogs at the pound, and we've gone to adopt affairs.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're able to get them in, and so folks who may or may not have they'll be able to check them, pick them up, adopt them, I guess. Yeah.
And we got it on the internet, or on our Facebook page for the city and the city's website. You can actually go on there, see the dogs that are at the pound, where he's picked them up. I'd say in the last month, there's been 15 to 20 dogs in and out of that pound.
Really?
Yeah, it was kind of a dormant. It's been a dormant department for a while due to budget cuts, but we have a really good employee now down there. He's diligent, so the patrol officers are loving it because they don't have to deal with the animal calls as much, and people are enjoying it because they're able to go down to the pound where before the doors were locked up. So it's been a win-win, and the dogs they get played with now a lot more, and everybody seems to be happy.
I will say I didn't do my due diligence and go on the website page, because every time I go on there I end up finding a dog that I want.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. So now you guys have got some nice friendly pooches. All right, what do pet owners need to know? What do they need to have to be licensed, or make sure the tags for rabies are up to date, all this kind of stuff?
And I think, like Mike said, it's been kind of dormant, so people got kind of lax.
Yeah.
They didn't license their dogs. The city has a leash law. The city has a licensing law. If your dog gets picked up and taken to the pound, you're going to be charged for the services at the pound, plus you're going to be having to get a license. So we're going to start a campaign here pretty quick to encourage people to get their dogs licensed. We do have the availability also with the microchipping to read the chips in the dogs. So we're just going to let people know, hey, it's time to get your dog licensed, keep them in an enclosed area, and put them on a leash. And Mike can give you the numbers of what it costs, but it's not cheap, so people need to pay attention.
All right, what do we got?
And it's not so much a money-making thing per se. It's just when we have animals that are licensed, we can keep track of the animals we do have in town, make sure that they have rabies vaccinations, because when people are getting bit by the dogs, we need to make sure there's some kind of tracking to figure out whether or not it's a dangerous dog and things of that nature. But the basic license fee, it's only $15. And the plan is to come up with a program where citizens will license their animals, and then once a year, our animal control officer will make, hey, FYI, just check him back in. Is Fido still here? Remember to make sure he's still licensed. Are the rabies vaccinations good? The impound fee, it's $30 for the first impound, and that keeps on going up. So, if you lose your dog and it gets found the first time, keep that in mind that the second time it'll go up to like $50, all the way up to $100. So, because it costs money to feed the dog, to house the dog, to clean the cage, all those things. So we want to make sure that owners are being responsible so that everybody else can enjoy the community as well.
Let's talk about the safety of the officer when responding to one of these calls. Okay, so somebody says there's some dog running around some road in town. Come help me out. What happens next?
They can call dispatch.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way to get him activated. He's generally working day shift type of hours now. He's off about 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. But he'll respond up there and catch the dog. He's finding out that it's not as easy catching a dog as he thought it was going to be. I told him, carry a lot of biscuits in your pocket.
Yeah.
Because literally he's chased a few dogs all over the place, and they'll run home. And then the people at the house say, well, you can't have my dog. It's in the house.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. We're not going to go in your house and take your dog out. However, your dog's causing a problem in the neighborhood, and we can fine you for that there. And like Mike said, it's not necessarily to make money, because we certainly do not make money off of this, but you got to pay for the services. And as such, like Mike said, the licensing, the rabies vaccinations, all that stuff comes in handy when something occurs. And it's also for the safety of the dogs.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many dogs have gotten hit over the last several years here. And then we end up taking them up to vet trying to get them fixed and trying to track down an owner. We have a good partnership with Adopt-A-Pet.
Yeah.
And so we're able to take dogs that are in our pound, move them over to Adopt-A-Pet, which helps us. And like last Saturday, they held an adoption fair over at Dell's, and we adopted one dog out of that. So that's kind of the process that it'll go through. But it's also not an easy job because strange dogs, you never know what you're walking into.
Oh, yeah. You don't know what they got. Or...
Exactly. I would say 95% of the time, a dog's just going to be loving and want to be pet. It's that 5% that we have that catch pull for. Some dogs are just not nice, but we give him the training he needs to make sure that he's safe. So
good. Well, again, you'll be able to go to the sheltonwa.gov and then the website there through the police department. You see the animal control tab there for the found dog and the available for adoption web pages. Coming up, tomorrow from 2 to 4, we're having a little celebration for a retirement party for Diana Hupp.
Longtime employee and kind of took care of everybody at the police department for many years.
Yeah.
And she's calling it time to retire. So 2 to 4 tomorrow afternoon at the Civic Center. The community can stop by, wish her well in her retirement. And we're just going to have some light snacks and coffee and stuff that folks can come by and pay their respects and
That's
say
great.
What a great job she's done over the years at the police department.
Man, 24 years.
Yeah, she was behind the scenes. Like, she's the person that, that's not on the road to get like the thank yous, but she's done so much for the city and for the department. It's just she's behind the scenes. So it'd be nice for the community to come out just to say thank you. And she's given a lot of time to the city. 2
to 4 tomorrow at the Civic Center, 525 West Coda.
Right.
You guys are busy in the next couple of months.
We got a lot of stuff going on. Mike just got promoted. This is his second week of being a lieutenant.
Yeah.
So he's got his plate full as I keep dishing stuff off to him on a regular basis. We also, just to touch on a few things, the police department will be taking over code enforcement for the city in the future.
Okay.
And so we'll be looking for somebody to hire into that position. And, again, it falls into the quality of life. We don't want to go out there and start tearing up the town with code enforcement, but it's all about compliance. Our animal control officer also has helped with abandoned cars, and he's taken probably almost 30 cars he's tagged as abandoned around town in the last month. And out of that, 25 of those have moved their cars.
Oh, wow.
It's all about compliance.
Yeah.
It's not about wanting to tow the cars or get rid of them. It's about, hey, you got to follow the parking regulations. You can't just leave your car out in the street for months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So those are issues that we'll be facing coming up too.
Yeah, and it's not going to be like the city's cracking down. Like, we're not going out there rulers checking your grass for minimum height. It's just quality of life.
Yeah.
If you buy a home in the city of Shelton, we want your home value to continue to go up, and we want you to be happy. And when you got derelict vehicles that are lying down the block, those are eyesores, and we have rules and laws that apply, and we're going to start enforcing those. The first step is going to be education. Hey, most of the time when our guys go out there, it's like, hey, did you know this is declared, you need to license it. It needs to run. You got to move it. And 90% of the time they're like, oh, geez, okay, absolutely, and they move it and it's done.
Yeah.
So education is going to be the biggest part of this. I imagine enforcement will probably be pretty minor, but it's going to be a tool that we use if needed to make sure that everybody has a high quality of life and can enjoy living in our community.
Especially if some of these compliance laws haven't been enforced over the months or years. It's going to start coming in. Coming down hard.
We get more complaints about derelict cars and houses than we do criminal activity.
That's true.
But the reality is a lot of criminal activity revolves around some of those houses.
Yeah.
So there was a broken windows theory years ago in law enforcement that if you let the house keep getting broken windows, it just attracts more and more and more. And we need to resolve that here in town.
Yeah.
And we just wrote a grant. We'll be coming to you with that and giving the information in the press of that. But we wrote an auto theft grant because auto thefts went up in the last year. So Mike's going to be managing that grant. If you want to talk about that.
We before Detective Mayava retired, he wrote a grant through the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Team, and got $4,500 so that we can spend on equipment and educational services for the community on education about prevention tips for to prevent auto theft. The biggest portion of that was we spent most of it, or a good chunk of it, on those car locks on the door. The ones you put on the steering wheels.
The clubs.
The club. So, and that's not a plug to the club.
We're not plugging the club.
No, so long story short is, people that were getting victimized, your typical Hondas, the Toyotas, the Shelton Police Department now has clubs. We're donating them out to you.
Oh, wow.
So come down. If you need one, we'll give it to you. We plan on holding 2 events in the near future. One's going to be in Spanish. The other one's going to be in English to reach out to the community and talk about, hey, auto theft is a problem here, and this is how you can prevent it by simply, usually locking your doors, leaving your keys outside the car, not keeping them in there. You'd be surprised. And then making sure your valuables are outside. They're not left in the car,
Right.
Specifically guns. We see that where people leave their guns in their cars, the car gets stolen, the guns end up missing, and we got to deal with it with law enforcement. It's just not fun. So this club, though, it's simple. And yesterday we had a gentleman on the south end of town who he owns Hondas. He works on Hondas, and they were just getting stolen left and right. So we put up some cameras, and then we also gave him. We yesterday went up there and handed him the locks, and the wife was so happy, gave the officer a big hug.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just great. It's just a simple way that we got the grant, and now we can help other people out, and so it's perfect. So if you're interested, come down to the Shelton Police Department. We'll get you hooked up.
And that's 2 at the Civic Center, 525 West Coda. Shelton Police Chief Darrin Moody and new Lieutenant Mike Fiola. It's always nice talking to you, Mike, over the years.
One more thing to throw at
Oh,
you,
yeah, what do
Jeff.
you got? One more thing.
We're going to come and talk to you in the coming months because we were able to secure funding for body cameras.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
So we'll be one of the few in the area that's going to have body cameras coming up shortly, and when we get them online, we'll be in and talk to you about
Isn't
that.
that
and let you know where
sound
that's going.
That will be cool.
Pretty much. The camera we're going to is pretty sleek. It's going to be the first one in Washington State. So
Nice.
looking forward to showing that to the community.
Very cool. Well, we'll definitely look forward to that conversation. The Focus on Shelton this week and every week is brought to you by our community credit union.